Next in our program is Michael Laverty. He's a historian and he's very active in the preservation of the cemetery. And Michael Laverty is down here by the Sweeney monuments. We'd like everybody to move down there and we'll talk about the Sweeney family.
Together these pieces like you're trying to put a puzzle together. And I read the name Sweeney, which in Irish means well disposed. And then I saw the letters U-S-C, IMF. I called out to Randy, he was over here doing something else, and he confirmed that here lies a member of the United States Colored Infantry who fought during the Civil War. Our minds started thinking that we need to know more about this man. It's not by chance that he's buried here at the foot of Thaddeus's tomb. Randy checked some old maps of Lancaster County, of which there are many, and found reference to Jonathan Sweeney in southern Lancaster County. So we went off to find his house, which wasn't easy, but after a while, in a beautiful hollow in Providence Township, where 3 wooded hills meet and 2 little brooks meet, in a bend of a quiet country road, we found his house. Not 100% sure if that was his exact house, but with more effort, we will find the exact one. With more research, Jonathan's obituary was found, as well as some U.S. Census records, military records, and deed records. He was born in 1832, and as a young man, he was a raftsman on the Susquehanna River, perhaps floating logs down to Maryland, or guiding a boat filled with flour to sell in Baltimore. Later, he was a barber in Lancaster, and he married Anna Eliza at rest next to him, and they had 4 daughters. During this time, the Underground Railroad was in operation. Of the 4 churches in his area, in that little hollow, 2 of them were Quaker, who were also known for their efforts to lead former slaves to freedom. With his knowledge of the river, one could guess, speculate, whatever, that he would have been a perfect guide as well, leading people up the river to a new life. We don't know, but interestingly enough, his daughter's husband's father was a pallbearer at Lydia's first transition. So somehow they knew each other. Now both Lydia and Mr. Stevens were long thought to be involved in the Underground Railroad as well. So these bits of information are being connected slowly, 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 like the bits of the stone came together slowly, slowly. By the time he was 28 years old, the country had collapsed into what we'll call the Civil War today. On June 28, 1863, not far from here, Confederate troops tried to cross the Susquehanna to burn down Lancaster, also the hometown of Congressman Thaddeus Stevens. The houses that you see across the street wouldn't be here today if they were successful. 2 very nervous days later, men were being recruited for the 3rd U.S. Colored Regiment, and records show that 300 men signed up. Jonathan's records don't show the exact date of service, but mentions 1 year of service. Other records show that local men enlisted the week of July 18th, 1863, so possibly Mr. Sweeney joined at that time. Research on Mr. Sweeney is ongoing. In fact, just this morning, we were reliably told that he achieved the rank of sergeant during his service. So please make a note of that in your handouts today, and you might be making more corrections, additions as the years go on. But we have to be honest. Why would he or any other black man ever consider signing up for an army that didn't want them? They were paid, as we found out, half the wages that white Union troops received. There were Army Union doctors that wouldn't even treat them when they were wounded, and all commanding officers were white. Yet, this man, Jonathan Sweeney, made this commitment. Was this overwhelming courage? Or did he not know that if he was captured by the Confederate forces, he would be murdered? They didn't take black Union soldiers as prisoners, they were executed. Still, Jonathan enlisted. Was it his wife who encouraged him to take on this duty, even with the dangers involved? Or was she the one that told him he was crazy to fight for a country where they were treated as second-class citizens? Whatever their private conversations were, the truth remains that he served. And it was truly a sad day when he left his 22-year-old wife to face adversity on the battlefield and a very uncertain future. What were her thoughts the moment she had to go back into that house to resume her daily life? I wish we knew all those answers as well. The war ended in 1865 and Jonathan survived. In May, there was a huge grand review of Union troops in Washington, D.C. to honor those who served. After all this fighting, and the country ripped still in two pieces, the USCT, the colored troops, were not even invited to attend. If you want a number, that was 186,000 troops forgot to get an invitation. Upon hearing this, though, here in progressive Harrisburg, at that time, on November 14th, the same day, in 1865, a group of women organized a grand review. They had their own grand review in Harrisburg. Pennsylvania Governor Curtin refused to attend. What did Mr. Sweeney feel about that? He risked his life, and yet the same country, even winning over the South, ignored him and the service of thousands of African Americans. His own governor refused to say hello and thank you on that day, November 14th. Was it this man, Thaddeus Stevens, who comforted him about dealing with injustice? Did these two guys know each other? Did they play cards on Saturday night and have a few sips together? Stevens wore a wig, so Jonathan couldn't have been his barber. But prove me wrong. There's a stepping stone right here between Thad's and Jonathan's grave sites. Was this a sign of their friendship, linking these two fighters together for freedom? One using his words and influence, the other using his courageous actions. I wish I knew. I think they do. They were friends. They knew each other. When I found out that he was indeed a Civil War veteran, I also noticed that there was no GAR little flag marker by his grave, like the ones here on these white soldiers. Did we even forget to honor him with a flag stand? Is that the point where we were? So with a stick in my hand and this bare hand, I started to dig in front of his stone. And lo and behold, there it was. Under 2 inches of soil, I found the Grand Army of the Republic marker. I don't know how long it had been buried, maybe 100 years, for all I know. But I cleaned it up and I looked for a flag, because he never had a flag here either. And I saw that Stevens had 2 of them, so I thought, he wouldn't mind giving one to Jonathan, this well-disposed American hero. This is a very simple sight, but our stones are alive here. There might not be an eternal flame over here honoring the great commoner, but better yet, he has his nephew next to him, and one fine eternal soldier guarding him forever. Thank you. Also, through this research, we found a beautiful print. It was sort of drawn right about maybe here. And when we're looking at it, we see that the coffin of Thaddeus was being lowered. And right here, right at this corner right here, was a blow up. If you blow it up, you see an African American couple. Now, you know, my mind is thinking, well, I know who these people were. This is Jonathan, and this is his wife. Okay. So the idea is that perhaps we could put a permanent marker right here, maybe. Something like this that Randy Harris created, so that the next 100 years, every day, people can come by and take a look at this and know about the heroes of these two people during that period of time. So if you think that's a good idea, maybe we can go forward with that. But I do ask that everybody try to do more research, because this isn't history here. This is our story. I don't even want to use that word, his story, anymore. I want to use the word our story, because that's what this is. So thank you again.